Let's move on now to the third email. And the third email today comes to us from Tommy Tucker, who writes, "Sup, John? This is Pete from Memphis." Well, your name was Tommy Tucker, but now you're Pete. Okay, whatever. My question is simple. Do we as an audience expect too much from CGI/special effects? I remember seeing Flash Gordon and the OG Star Trek as a kid and thinking, that's awesome. Now people seem to go out of their way to pick apart what's CGI and what's practical. I studied 3D modeling in college, and it's not easy. Do we expect too much now? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Tommy. And yeah, the battle and the debate about CGI and how much is enough and how much is too much has been raging on for a while now, right? There are a lot of people, although I remember, this was funny. I remember having this debate with a guy who was like, practical is always better than CGI. No, it's not. No, it is not. Practicals are, just look at, I remember this is around the time that Mad Max came out. Mad Max Fury Road. And one of his big arguments was, look at Mad Max, man. That's how you do it. Practical effects, you get real environments, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you do know that a hell of a lot of Mad Max was CGI, right? No, it wasn't. Yeah, here's a link to the whole VFX behind the scenes special about the visual effects in Mad Max. There's a hell of a lot. I never heard back from him again. But at any rate, so there's this, between the battle of practical to CGI versus what are our expectations of CGI? You know, what is realistic? What is not realistic? How have we as an audience come to take for granted CGI? Because CGI today is so good that there are quite often entire scenes of CGI that you as an audience member don't even realize you're looking at CGI. And sometimes that's the best kind of CGI, the effects that you don't even realize are there, right? And that's the thing. There's a lot of times, Mad Max Fury Road is a great example of that. CGI, when the audience doesn't even know they're looking at CGI. And then have to backtrack when they say, there's too much CGI. Sometimes there is. A lot of times there's not. I remember, now this is when I was like an infant, but going back to when I was a very little child, but the big marketing campaign around Christopher Reeve's Superman. The big marketing campaign around Christopher Reeve's Superman was, you will believe a man can fly. Because of this astounding advancement they made with special effects, with the flying thing, to make it look like this actor, Christopher Reeve, was actually flying, right? They made a big advancement in that regard. So, you'll believe a man could fly. That was their big thing. And sure enough, a lot of people watched Superman back in the day and were amazed. Unbelievable. Well, obviously, it looks like junk now. Even the most rudimentary flying effects in a CW Supergirl show look 20 times better than the flying Superman we had back then. It's changed and it's evolved. You know? When Jar Jar Binks, and look, crap all over the prequels that you want, and I do quite often, but crap all over them that you want. Jar Jar Binks marked such an advancement in the world of CGI and what was possible with CGI. And what was possible. That's why The Matrix, which was a much better movie, it's a total joke that Matrix won Best Visual Effects. Ask any visual effects house in Hollywood what should have won Best Visual Effects that year. They will all tell you The Phantom Menace should have won Best Visual Effects. But I digress. The thing is, with the advancement of Superman to Jar Jar, from Jar Jar to today, we as an audience have become so desensitized to the amazing magic that these CGI and visual effects people are able to conjure. We have become so desensitized to these miracle workers and what they are actually able to do and convince us of on screen. We've become so desensitized to it that when we see the most obscure flaw in something, We will rant and complain about terrible visual effects, terrible visual effects. You know what? Let's look at Steppenwolf even. And I complain about the look at Steppenwolf, but Steppenwolf in Justice League, he looked terrible. They did a terrible job with him. But if Steppenwolf was a main villain, even just 7 years ago, still in the 2010s, if Steppenwolf was your main villain 7 years ago, we would not have been nearly as harsh on him. Unfortunately, he comes out in the same year that we have a Thanos, and you can clearly see a discrepancy between the visual quality of a Thanos versus a Steppenwolf, but still, it is just once again a highlight of just how desensitized we as an audience have been. And I think we need to take, as an audience, take a step back. And granted, I'm a little biased. I used to work in visual effects. But I think we as an audience need to take a step back and really start to reinvest in our appreciation for this magic and this wizardry that these people are able to do. This new set of reality, as Robert Meyer Burnett talks about, we live in an age of wonders. When you can watch a movie and not even suspect, and get a scene like this, and not even suspect for a moment that what you're looking at isn't real. Not even for a moment suspect that what you're looking at isn't real. And you don't even know they used visual effects in that particular. When we live in that kind of an age, we need to appreciate what it is they do all the more. Unfortunately, it does also mean that when it's done poorly, it kind of stands out a little bit more. But I still believe that you're completely right. The underlying problem here is that we as an audience have become desensitized to the amazing, to the absolutely amazing. And we should develop our appreciation for that a little bit more. So I agree with you on that.